Hi Scorpios, happy February 2017. I am going to be reading for you guys today. I hope you guys are doing well. When I was shuffling, I asked my spirit guides, I really want to dig deep with you guys. I love diving deep with the Scorpios because you guys can handle it. Some people just go running for the hills, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with astrology, but my Venus is in the 8th house. So I know all about diving deep. Okay, I'm not a Scorpio per se. I'm on the cusp of Libra and Scorpio, but I have attracted so many Scorpios into my life. My dad is a double Scorpio. My husband's a Scorpio. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law both have their moons in Scorpios. I've seen like every every angle of Scorpio, and it is such a beautiful. And my brother, his sun is in the 8th house. One of my best friends has her sun in the 8th house. Scorpio is just such an incredible sign that is really able to dive deep and to get to the root cause of things. They're transformative in the most profound ways. You know, my brother, like I said, sun in the 8th house, acts like a Scorpio. He doesn't want to hear about the weather. He wants to hear about your fears when he first meets you. So it's fun. There's never a shallow moment when it comes to a Scorpio. Everything has meaning, everything is deep, and that's really how I like to live my life, with deep meaning, okay? So I'm going to get started. I'm going to shuffle these up again because it feels right. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold. And I will separate these. Oh, sorry, I realize you guys can't see what I'm doing. Okay, looking good. Looking really good. Party, family, celebration, wedding, some sort of social gathering at home. That's the theme of this spread for February, okay? February is a very powerful, positive, and creative, optimistic month on its own. It's really a time to be socializing, getting yourself out there. You can start to feel spring already. You know, February usually is a very short month, and then March comes in like a lion and leaves like a lamb, and then spring's here. So we're feeling that we've made it through winter, and if you're Canadian, you'll realize that this wasn't really a winter, or sorry, if you're in Ontario, you'll realize that this wasn't really a winter. But essentially, we're starting to definitely get back into that spring mode. Newness, freshness, regrowth, rejuvenation, rebirth, all Scorpio stuff that we love to talk about. So the situation for February 2017 for Scorpios is feeling very bound to some old feelings of resentment, whether they're greed, envy, jealousy. Somebody kind of stuck their claws into you, or vice versa. You stuck your claws into someone, and now you're feeling very bound to that situation, feeling very bound to that person, and you don't even necessarily know if it's the right situation for you. You don't know if you feel balanced or if you feel chained. If you feel chained because of, you know, authority, responsibility, obligations, it's like an inverted spirituality. It's like, you know, a spiritual leader feels compelled to go and do something that is completely, you know, off grid, like just say going to like, you know, a monastery in India. A spiritual leader feels compelled to do that. Sometimes we can feel compelled to work and to be in a situation that we don't necessarily want to be in because it feels like that's our path, even though in our heart we don't want that, and we're just there because we're chained to do it, because, you know, we feel like we're born to do that, born to serve, to be in that capacity. The thing that I'm noticing the most is the knees here, especially for the males. It's almost like this situation has you dropping to your knees, begging for something, begging for a change, begging for some inner work, begging for some transformation, begging for growth, for flight, for, you know, for uniqueness, recognition, acknowledgement, fire, passion. You know, is there passion missing in your life? Scorpios need passion. They're very passionate. And if it's too sure-footed, if it's too easy and there's no passion left, we can feel very stagnated. We can feel very trapped. We can feel like very lower vibration. This isn't a bad card though, okay? You as Scorpios know that, you know, the devil was Satan was the most beautiful angel. It was just a fall from grace. But the devil, Satan, was still an angel regardless. It was just a transformation. This is actually an amazing Scorpio card when I stop to think of it, and maybe you guys are this guy right here feeling like you have to chain the people around you because they're too fiery, they're too focused on finances, they're too, bound to their lower vibrations, and you feel like you're kind of that authority saying, stop, I'm watching you, I don't like what you're doing, there's no growth there, there's no transformation there, there's no uplift there, so stop doing what you're doing. Maybe you're the authority that's not pleased with the other people in your life who are vibrating low. So the obstacle and aid is to change that frame of mind. It's a male here, male over 34, married. He's gone through transformations. He's totally gone through transformations. And his transformations, he only shows a little bit of those transformations to you, okay? And when I first said a male, it's an air sign, so Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. That's me, obviously. So Gemini, Aquarius, Libra, air sign over 34, somebody who's gone through transformation, someone who is married, and someone who is ready to reveal their transformation to you, who's only shown a little bit of their changes. You can really learn from them. Yeah, it's going to be an obstacle to kind of get through to this person and to understand where this person's coming from, but in the end, it will end up being a huge aid for you. Also, kids, if you have kids, they're another binding feeling, feeling like you want to make sure that your kids have abundant passion when it comes to the Scorpios for sure. But recognize that this male is doing just fine transforming and informing the kids in your life, the people in your life that you feel you have your claws in or they have your claws in you, okay? So subconsciously feeling very kind of stagnated, but you're okay with it. It's not getting your hair in a mess. It's almost like you can finally let your hair down and just kind of, this is what I'm doing, giving myself, 4 or 5 days, and giving myself even 4 or 5 months to just take a break and to sit back on what I've already created, because it's time for some alone time. It's really time to start hermiting. It's really time to just, surround yourself with candles, have a nice bath, get out in nature, and just kind of get back to who you are. Because Scorpios, like I said, they dive deep, but when they're out in the world too much, they can really get overwhelmed. When we start to see the motivations of humanity, we watch the news and we just feel sad for, the state of the world. We can really take that on. And as Scorpios, we take it on with a fiery passion. We own it. We own the hurt. We own the suffering that isn't even ours. We get, like, my husband will watch the news and he gets angry. Like, he's actually able to emote over something that is 95% false. Like, it's majority of the time untrue. If you've ever had a news story done about you, or you knew the truth of a news story and then you actually read it in the news and you're just like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Even when you compare two exact stories, but from two different news providers, you can see the inconsistencies, and you can see humanity at its finest. It has nothing to do with truth. It has everything to do with competition, with getting the story out first. Nonetheless, if it's true or not, right? And that can really torment a Scorpio who is all about truth finding, who is all about research, who is all about diving deep and finding truth and answers to something substantial, to watch the news and see these lies that are just horrendous, on top of the horrendous acts. You have a bad act, and then you magnify it by lying about it and adding more horrific facts and opinions and beliefs in there. And where's the truth? And when we stem from that place, especially as a Scorpio, when we stem from that truth, how are we supposed to function in the world? Wake up reading the news, you just see the hate, you just see whatever, the crime. How do you go out in the world and see love and beauty when at home you're watching the world in despair? So my advice, and I really give that to everyone, is stop watching the news. What is it really doing for you? You know, unless you're researching humanity and you're able to look at humanity from an objective place and say, well, you know, we're all monsters, all humans are monsters, but there's still some beauty, there's still some love and light. If you can take a step back from the news and not invest in it, then it'll be absolutely beneficial, and you can totally do it. But it's when we get invested, we go out in the world and we spread it. And we're like, oh, well, did you hear about this person and that person? And what is that accomplishing? It's not accomplishing anything, okay? That's my spiel. Thinking is getting definitely more positive, definitely thinking more positively, feeling more like a star, feeling more like you're finally able to pour from your cup. You're finally filled your cup. You're ready for flight in a way, but you're also still very cautious about the fact that you're not a superhero, that you're not immortal, that you could still have that fall from grace, just like, you know, the angel / devil did. Yeah, this is an interesting thought process because you feel great and you want to, and subconsciously you want to stay in that beautiful frame of mind. So it's almost like you have fear of moving forward. But I'm going to keep going. Something that would have just passed, there was a lot of confusion that would have just passed, to really whimsical, not knowing what's going on. You know, you have your bags packed, ready for some sort of adventure or some sort of change, but it just, you didn't really know when it was coming or what was happening. You felt like something was nipping at your toes, being like, what's this change? When is it going to crash? When is it going to whatever? And it did eventually come, but in the immediate past, it was just kind of like, well, you felt like you were just being flowing with the wind and there was no substantial groundwork. Future card, a lot of worries. So how do you go from this card to this card? That's what I'm curious about. How do you go from feeling completely happy and magnificent and balanced and, you know, empowered and feeling powerful? How do you go from this to feeling completely worried and destitute and confused and, like, you know, and staticky and just not seeing things clear, no sense of peace, feeling like everything is just getting thrown onto you, and not being able to even find your footing? How do we go from here to there? How does that happen? Is that from subconsciously spending too much time in your head, too much seclusion, not enough nature, too much indoors? How does that happen? You right now, partying a lot, and it feels great and it feels good, but it's not a good color. It's not a good color on you, Scorpio, because it's draining you. I guess I could say that it's draining your color, maybe not focusing enough on the nutrients that you're getting in, but whatever it is, the partying and the firm grasp on partying without even, you know, like we get set into these routines of, you know, every Thursday I get drunk, or every, you know what I mean? We get set into these routines and we don't allow the flow of life to come in. It's almost like, instead of planning that every Thursday or Friday you're going to go out and get drunk, why not just not have a plan? And if something comes up, someone gives you that call, hey, do you want to randomly do this? If you're feeling it, then do it. But when we routine in an addiction or whatever, something that society deems as you know, not beneficial to society, whatever you want to judge that or label that as, when we routine that in, it's not fun anymore, right? Like it's routine, and routine is not fun. Like there's no spontaneity, there's no pizzazz. So if you're feeling really stagnant when it comes to partying and just, you know, you had your fill and you want to make a change because you feel like you've been partying too much, just be honest with the people that you've been partying with and just say, listen, like, I'm done. Like, I need to focus on my health. I need to, like, I'm sure your family and friends have seen that you look a little off, like you've lost some color. Like, it's time to nourish yourself, okay? Family and friends are really admiring what you've built for yourself so far. They really see you as this creative, optimistic, positive person, this trifecta of like a triple threat. Essentially, you just have everything together. Make sure that it's true. Make sure that how your family sees what you've built for yourself is how you feel as well. Sometimes it feels amazing to look at life through other people's eyes, especially Scorpios. Scorpios are admired. Like the Scorpios in my life I look up to so much, but they all have lower value on themselves. They all, like, when I read for Scorpios, they're like, well, it's like they're afraid to admit that they're the shit. Like, and it's totally okay to do that. But, sometimes we can feel embarrassed or like we don't deserve what we've been given, or we don't deserve to brag about it. It's not a Scorpio's way to brag about it. They have a silent confidence that is extremely admirable. But it's really time to shine some light. Tell the people that you care about them. Sometimes it's just a quick, I love you, I miss you, okay? Like, it's not difficult, but I find that a lot of the Scorpios, their emotions are so deep that it's almost offensive that I don't know what they're feeling. And I know that sounds pretty selfish, but if their emotions are so deep, why aren't they sharing it? Because the world needs some depth. The world is so superficial right now. The world really needs some Scorpio depth. So get deep with your emotions. Nobody is judging you. We need Scorpios. We need Scorpios to be themselves because nobody else can be a Scorpio. Nobody. Okay? Family, hope and fear. Hope for a change and you want it to come quick, but you also fear for it. Scorpio is also a fixed sign, so yeah, as much as that's the thing, Scorpios are able to transform when they've prepared and they're able to make that change. They've prepared themselves, they've done the work for it, they've figured out a plan and a path. But the quick changes Scorpios don't like very much. Like, they want to feel in control of the changes and the transformations that they're making. So we hope for it, but we also fear for it. The thing with change is that we have no control over it. We have absolutely no control over a lot of changes that happen in our lives, because a lot of the changes that happen in our lives are based off of other people's changes. You know what I mean? Like, your neighbor moves, that's going to change your living situation based on their decision to change. So recognize that we have no control over change. Drop the watch. Don't wear a watch anymore. You have no control over time. You have no control over that. The only control we have is the change that we make for ourselves. So, for instance, my Scorpio husband got a haircut, and it was a change for him because it was a haircut he's never had before. But because he was able to control that little change, it made the other changes that he couldn't control a lot easier, because he's like, okay, well, at least I have some control over my personal transformation, so it doesn't matter what's transforming on the outside, because you almost trick yourself into believing that it came from within, okay? Outcome, final card. Another card that I've seen in some other spreads here is just changing that. Oh, okay, I see what it is. So like I said, how do we get from this beautiful star to this worry and destitute? And we get there by our thoughts. We get there by changing the way that we feel about finances and empowerment. And when we lose that first balance, that first sense of balance, we can feel completely off kiltered. So I'm sorry to say it, but February is looking like the partying, the celebrations, the gatherings are making you feel great in the moment, but in the long run, you feel completely bound to that routine. You feel completely bound to that addiction. There is an air sign that is affecting this this want for change, these lower vibrations. Someone who is in a committed partnership, but if you can help that air sign, that older male air sign, transform and recognize his transformations, it's going to make yours a lot easier, because that male is going to help you, okay? But first, we're going to have to struggle a bit. That's just, Scorpios, they rise from the ashes. They don't rise from, you have to burn yourself first in order to be rebirthed. So I'm sorry to say that this month might be a little bit more difficult when it comes to that sense of freedom, when it comes to that sense of change, and that change, and not be able to see the goodness in the change, not being able to see the progress that change is going to bring. My only advice to you is just be at peace with the present moment. That's really all that we could do. We're completely taken care of. The universe absolutely loves us. So there's no point of stressing about finances because everything happens for a reason. And I am going to stop talking now. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for the comments, likes, subscribes, shares, everything. Just thank you so much for the love. I'm really enjoying doing these videos for you guys, and I will be back in March for sure. I love you guys, and I hope you have an amazing February. Bye, guys.